Hey, one factoring into today's video, we're going to have a look at weather next 8-10 days in today's video. No great changes on the last update that I did for the next 8 to 10 days. A couple of days ago, I think I did it Tuesday, didn't I? No real signs of a change on what we was looking at then, really. It's a case of high pressure going to be sitting to the east and northeast. Low pressure is going to be sitting out to the west of the country. And we're really going to be in a battle zone, so we are going to get some unsettled conditions at times. But I don't think it's going to be particularly cold. In fact, it could be quite warm at times, and the worst of the rain I think is always going to be in the north and the west. We'll have a look at the charts in a moment, just to mention about the advertising this video ads to my pages. At GazWeatherViz.com, if you press play on the video ad, you'll be helping to support GazWeatherViz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. Now, we've got some unsettled weather coming up for the next couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Low pressure is going to be taking over. This is today's Solstice pressure chart. We've got low pressure moving in off the Atlantic. It's going to become more dominant, I think, over the next couple of days. It'll push down from the west and the northwest, and it's going to be producing some outbreaks of rain at times. Here's the chart for midday tomorrow, showing the low pressure really taking over pattern across the country, and that's going to push down further into the country as we go through into Saturday. So by Saturday, you'll be sitting right over the top of the country. That will be bringing some quite unsettled conditions, as I say, over the next 2 or 3 days. Here's the high-resolution Euro 4 precipitation forecast from website Weather Online. We can see that through the course of the day we're going to be having bands of heavy showers, maybe even some thunderstorms coming in from the west. Here's the rainfall prediction for 6 o'clock this evening. We've got quite a lot of heavy showers across Scotland, some through Ireland, moving in towards parts of southern Scotland and northern England. Another area coming through Wales in towards the Midlands and East Anglia this afternoon. That could give some quite heavy downpours there. But the far south, we probably just about miss all of this and stay mainly dry. Now overnight, those showery bands are going to be pushing off to the east, although they'll keep going around the east-western coast, particularly affecting Ireland and southern parts of Wales, perhaps through the course of the night. And then into tomorrow, we're going to find 2 distinct areas of wet weather setting up. We've got heavy showers, maybe thunderstorms again for Scotland coming down to Northern Ireland. We've got this area of more persistent rain setting up through parts of Northern England, going down into Wales and southwest England. That could get really quite heavy through the course of the afternoon and into the evening, producing potentially some very wet weather on Friday evening across northern England and Wales. That'll push eastwards, I think, across the country overnight, Friday night, to leave a very, very showery day on Saturday. So quite an unsettled and mixed end to July. Although July has been a very warm month, as we know, and this is the provisional central England temperature up to yesterday, the 30th of July. And we're standing at 18.0 provisionally, a very, very warm July indeed. That is an anomaly of 2 degrees above average. I've explained this before in other videos. All months this year have come in well above average. January, February, March, April, May and June all above average. In most instances the anomaly has been around 2 degrees above average, although May and June were a little bit closer to average. It's just been 1 degree above average, still significantly above average, but most of the months this year have been around the 2 Celsius mark above average. Looks like July is going to be very similar, although I think that's a little bit overdone for July. I don't think we're actually going to come in with a central England temperature of 18.0, as I would suspect by the time we get to the end of the month, there's a downward correction, which we'll see probably tomorrow or maybe on Saturday, the final result. But I think the final result will be a little bit under 18.0. I think there's normally a couple of tenths of a degree knocked off by the time you get to the final result. So we're probably not going to hit 18 Celsius as central temperature for July, but I think we will be not far from it. We'll only be 2 or 3 tenths of a degree above average. And of course, it marks a very warm year. Last July we had a central temperature of 18.3. It's going to be a little bit cooler than last July, but not going to be far from it. But last time we had 2 Julys coming out at 18 degrees was quite a long time ago, actually, at 1994 and 1995. So if we did manage to hang on to that 18 Celsius central temperature for this July, it would be the first time since 94-95 that we've had 2 back-to-back Julys with central temperatures of 80 degrees. But also, I think we're going to be corrected downwards just a little bit by the time the final result comes in. So we'll probably come in just under 18.0. But while we're looking at this, I should just say that last time we had a very significantly cool summer, believe it or not. Well, in fact, we've had some pretty poor summers in the last year, so up to last year we did have some pretty poor summers in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. But the last time we had a significantly cool or cold even summer was probably this year, 1993, although that had a very warm June, but July and August were very cool. And if you go further back than that, you have to go back into the mid-1980s to find summers that were significantly cool throughout, because I was saying 1993 had that warm June, but it was cool in July and August. To get the 3 months significantly cool or bordering on cold, you've probably got to go back into the mid-1980s. So despite the fact that some very poor summers since 2007 up to 2013, actually they haven't been that bad in terms of the temperature, and there were significantly colder temperature summers back in the early 90s and into the 1980s. Now have a look at the current setup. This is the 500 millimeter height anomaly flowchart. We've got the ECMWF here on the left, the GFS is over on the right. These are the 8 to 10 day means. Will take us up to around the 6th of August. We see that again, we've got this idea of the above average heights. So explaining at the start of the video, above average heights, big area of high pressure sitting to the east and the northeast of the country. Trough of low pressure out in the west. We've got below average heights there. And sort of this battleground UK type idea with Atlantic winds trying to come in from the west, but the block to the east trying to feed in the hot east or southeasterly winds, and we're somewhere in the battleground. Sometimes getting westerlies, bringing wet weather in, but always at the risk, at least, of bringing up some very warm air, particularly to the south, on those east to southeasterly flows. So a proper old battle going to be taking place as we start August. What that means in terms of the weather, have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, is that the temperatures are going to be hovering around average, sometimes going a little bit above, sometimes going a little bit below, but overall the thick red line here is where temperature should be in terms of the 30-year average at this time of year. So we're going to be a little bit above average at times, a little bit below average, but not deviating far from the 30-year average, to be honest. And when we go above average, it's just as we're pulling up those warmer flows from the south for a time, but with the Atlantic quite active, we'll be cutting them off and bringing areas of low pressure through. But precipitation shows that we will be bringing some precipitation through to London. There are some spikes here. Not a significantly wet period, I don't think, down in the south and the southeast, but if we have a look at the Manchester ensemble, you'll see that it's much wetter there. Lots of precipitation spikes throughout the ensemble chart, really. Just telling us, again, I was explaining this in the video on Tuesday, but the north and west is going to be at risk of some significant wet weather over the next couple of weeks, whereas that wet weather will sometimes get down into the south and southeast, but not all the time, and it's going to be the north and west, I think, that gets the worst of the rain. The temperature anomaly, like that, the ensemble showing we're hovering around average. The temperature anomaly from the 31st of July to the 8th of August shows that we're going to be a little bit above average. And I've explained this in the videos as well over recent weeks, that even though it's average in terms of the upper air temperatures, because the sun has got such strength to it in the middle of summer, although we are beginning to move towards the latter part of summer now, and the sun will be weakening as we get through towards the latter stages of August. But right now, the sun still has enough strength in it to offset those ensembles. So, despite the fact they're around average for the upper atmosphere, down on the surface, it tends to still come out. Above average. You have to get upper air temperatures significantly below average to be coming out below average in terms of the temperature on the surface at this time of year. So a little bit above average for the next week. The rainfall anomaly shows that the south and southeast actually turns out to be a little bit drier than average overall, whereas the north and the northwest are in those blue curves, so it's a little bit wetter than average up there. Elsewhere, we're nearer normal, but it's that idea that the north and west will get worse worst of the rain. The driest weather will always be in the south and the southeast. Just have a look at the generic charts before I go. This is the GFS. And, well, there we are for Tuesday next week, the 5th of August. We're seeing that we've got high pressure here up to the northeast, we've got low pressure out to the west, so the two masses are battling it out. As we go through to the middle of next week, we may build up this ridge of high pressure for a time, but the low pressure is coming back in off the Atlantic to flatten that ridge off. So the middle of next week could turn a little bit drier and warmer, but then a weather system pushes through around Wednesday, Thursday, producing probably a band of quite heavy rain, particularly to the north and the northwest, and the flow then turns westerly, so it turns a little bit cooler as we get through to day 10, which will be certainly the 10th of August. I think on the 500 millibar flow charts I said day 10 was the 6th of August. Don't know what I was talking about. Day 10 is the 10th of August. It's still an idea, but we've got high pressure up to the northeast, low pressure out in the Atlantic, and by day 10, certainly the 10th, we're actually bringing another low pressure through across the country. Again, the worst of the rain will probably be in the north and the west. The east and west is very similar. There's the high pressure over Scandinavia, there's the low pressure out in the Atlantic. We are in a battleground zone as we go through towards the latter stages of next week. Again, we're bringing these areas of low pressure through the Atlantic, so I think we're going to be looking at quite an unsettled phase as we get through towards the latter stages of next week. Thursday, the 7th of August, brings this low pressure in, quite a deep area of low pressure. It deepens it more than the GFS. I'm not sure about that, but if that's like all areas, even in the south-southeast, you get a significant band of rain coming in sometime around Wednesday or Thursday. And then we end up with high pressure trying to ridge back in. In fact, by the time you get through to day 10, certainly the 10th, the ridge is there coming in across the country. Quite a weak one, though. I don't think that would last too long, but it could settle things down over that weekend, perhaps of the 9th and the 10th of August. So overall, we're looking at quite a complicated weather picture, actually, for forecasters. Anyway, it's very simple in terms of the general setup. It's high pressure to the east, low pressure to the west, and a battle taking place between the two. But of course, day by day, we're going to see some big variations, because at times it'll be quite warm and dry. At times it could also turn really quite wet, particularly to the north and the west. So quite an interesting period coming up, but quite a difficult one to forecast. But overall, I think it is turning more unsettled than it has been through much of this summer, but the south and southeast and the east just about hanging on to some fairly reasonable weather. We'll have a look at some of the longer range charts tomorrow. It's will be JMA Friday, so we'll have a look at the Japanese update for the next month. That'll be taking us right towards the end of August, I think. So we'll have a look at the longer range charts tomorrow. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.